What happens when humanity's most distant ambassador suddenly stops following orders and starts having what appears to be a conversation with something we can't see? For nearly 5 decades, Voyager has been our loyal messenger to the stars. But something fundamental changed when it made an unexplained turn toward empty space and began transmitting signals that NASA insiders are quietly calling contact. The probe that was supposed to be our one-way letter to the cosmos may have just become our first interstellar phone call. Almost 50 years after it first left Earth, Voyager 1 has done something no one predicted. This spacecraft, built in the 1970s with technology far more limited than the devices we carry in our pockets today, has faithfully traveled through our solar system and beyond, transmitting data back to Earth for decades. Its mission was supposed to be short-lived, only 5 years, yet it has continued to send signals for nearly half a century. But now, Voyager 1 has startled the scientific community. Without any command sent from Earth, the probe suddenly changed its trajectory. It wasn't a dramatic spin or a wild turn, but in the vastness of interstellar space, even the smallest course correction is significant. This shift was enough to trigger concern at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory, because it meant the spacecraft acted on its own. Engineers first thought it might be a malfunction, a failing thruster, a sensor glitch, or even corrupted code. But the deeper they dug, the clearer it became that no system error was responsible. The logs showed no command from Earth, no fault in the onboard computer, and no mechanical issue that could explain such a precise reorientation. What makes this moment so unsettling is the context. Voyager 1 is over 15 billion miles from home, far beyond the reach of planets or known gravitational influences that could tug at it. For it to suddenly adjust its course raises questions scientists are not used to asking. Was it reacting to something in deep space? Was the spacecraft nudged, guided, or even influenced by a force we don't yet understand? This is where the story takes a turn. What was supposed to be a silent drift into the unknown has become a mystery that challenges the limits of both engineering and imagination. Voyager 1's uncommanded shift may be the first sign that its journey is not as solitary as we once believed. After Voyager 1's strange and uncommanded turn, something even more mysterious emerged from its transmissions. Hidden deep within the steady stream of data was a sound, a faint, low-frequency hum that at first seemed like simple background noise. For decades, scientists have grown used to minor distortions in Voyager's signals. After all, this probe is nearly half a century old and powered by a fading nuclear battery. Glitches are expected, but this hum was different. It didn't fade. It didn't fluctuate randomly. Instead, it pulsed in perfect rhythm, repeating at steady intervals as if locked into a beat. When researchers isolated and enhanced the sound, its strangeness became undeniable. The pattern was precise, symmetrical, and mathematically spaced. It didn't match solar activity. It wasn't cosmic rays. It didn't resemble interference from any known natural source. NASA's Deep Space Network, with multiple antennas spread across the globe, confirmed the finding. Each station, thousands of miles apart, received the same hum, ruling out Earth-based interference. This wasn't a glitch in the equipment. It was real, and it was coming directly from Voyager 1. If you want to keep following these cosmic mysteries, don't forget to subscribe. The more scientists analyzed it, the stranger it became. The signal contained harmonic structures, embedded like layers of meaning, suggesting not randomness but design. To some, it echoed the logic of language or music, something intentional. Yet officially, NASA avoided such conclusions. Inside, reports called it an anomalous frequency event. But off the record, whispers began to spread. What if this wasn't noise at all, but a kind of reply? For years, Voyager's role had been to listen, to observe, to send our data into the void. But now, from that same void, something was sending a rhythm back. Whether it was natural, artificial, or something beyond either category, the hum marked a turning point. Voyager 1, once thought to be drifting silently through space, may have stumbled into a dialogue we never expected to begin. As scientists dug deeper into Voyager 1's transmissions, the mystery only grew. What started as a faint hum soon revealed itself to be more than sound. It carried hidden structures. Within the data stream were repeating sequences, mathematical rhythms woven into the static. At first glance, these distortions looked like ordinary signal degradation, the kind expected from a spacecraft so far away. But after careful filtering and decoding, something remarkable appeared. Binary-like sequences repeating with stunning precision. These weren't random ones and zeros. They followed clear logic, as if built on rules. Even more startling, the sequences echoed some of the most fundamental numbers in mathematics, prime numbers and the Fibonacci ratios. These are not just abstract ideas. In science, prime numbers are often used as markers of intelligence because they rarely occur in natural cosmic processes. Fibonacci sequences, meanwhile, are seen across life on Earth, from the spirals of seashells to the growth patterns of plants. Their appearance inside Voyager's signal suggested intention rather than accident. But it didn't stop there. Researchers also identified harmonic structures, tones layered in mathematical intervals like notes in a piece of music. Nature produces harmonics, yes, but not with this level of symmetry or repetition. It was too organized, too deliberate. This led to a haunting possibility. Could Voyager 1 be relaying a kind of message, one hidden within its transmissions? If so, the sender wasn't simply broadcasting noise. They were using mathematics, the most universal language we know, to make themselves understood. For the first time, whispers within NASA and among independent scientists turned into something more serious. These weren't glitches. These weren't random distortions. Voyager's signals looked like communication, structured and intelligent. And if that was true, the question was no longer whether we were alone in the universe, but whether we were already in contact without realizing it. When Voyager 1 left Earth in 1977, it carried with it a message meant for the cosmos, the famous Golden Record. This phonograph disc was humanity's time capsule, filled with music from around the world, greetings in dozens of languages, and a pulsar map pointing back to Earth's location. It was designed as a cosmic handshake, a way to say, "We are here." For decades, the record drifted silently through interstellar space, a symbolic gesture more than a practical one. No one truly expected it to be found, let alone answered. Yet, within the strange modulated signals Voyager recently began transmitting, researchers discovered something impossible: echoes of the Golden Record itself. The familiar sounds of Beethoven's Symphony and Chuck Berry's Johnny Be Good were there, but distorted, altered in tone, pitch, and rhythm, almost as if remixed. Greetings in human languages could be heard too, though they came back fractured, rearranged, sometimes layered over one another in ways that made them hauntingly unfamiliar. Even the pulsar map, originally designed as a simple star chart etched into the record's cover, appeared in the data stream as a series of complex geometric bursts, like a visual pattern translated into sound. It was as if something, or someone, had listened to Voyager's Golden Record, processed it, and was now sending it back with changes. Not a direct copy, but a kind of response, an altered reflection. The signals seemed to say, "We received your message. Here is ours." Scientists struggled to explain how this was possible. The probe was never designed to transmit the contents of the Golden Record. That information isn't stored in its computers. For those echoes to appear in Voyager's outgoing signal, something must have interacted with the spacecraft, accessed the record, and then used Voyager as a relay. The implications were staggering. After nearly half a century, the Golden Record might no longer be a lonely gift floating in space. Instead, it could have become the bridge for a dialogue, one humanity never expected to actually begin. Voyager 1's mysterious shift in orientation wasn't random. After analyzing the trajectory change, scientists realized the probe had aimed its instruments at a very specific point in the sky. But when they checked their star charts, nothing was there. No planets, no moons, not even a faint star cluster. Voyager had locked onto what appeared to be an utterly empty patch of space. At first, researchers assumed it was a malfunction in the probe's sensors, but the targeting was far too precise. The instruments weren't drifting. They were actively fixed on that single dark coordinate. Even more unsettling, Voyager continued to transmit its unusual hum and patterned signals while staring directly into the void. Speculation erupted within the scientific community. Was Voyager detecting something beyond the limits of current astronomy, an exotic cosmic phenomenon invisible to our telescopes? Some proposed it might be a region of space warped by gravity, perhaps a hidden mass like a rogue planet, a black hole, or something stranger. Others whispered about the possibility of cloaked objects, technology so advanced it could remain unseen, yet still influence the probe. Adding fuel to the fire, independent astronomers using deep sky observatories aimed their instruments at the same coordinates. They confirmed what Voyager had seen, or rather, what it hadn't. Nothing visible, no measurable light, no cataloged star or nebula. And yet, Voyager's steady fixation suggested it had found something significant, something our eyes could not detect. The unsettling truth was clear. The spacecraft wasn't just wandering. It was pointing deliberately toward a mystery that lay hidden in the darkness. For the first time, scientists began to wonder if Voyager was not merely exploring space, but being guided, its path redirected toward something waiting in the shadows of the cosmos. As Voyager's transmissions grew stranger, the way NASA handled the information began to change. Public updates shifted in tone. What had once been detailed reports full of technical transparency became vague, dry statements filled with jargon. Instead of addressing the unusual patterns directly, press releases used phrases like signal anomalies and data irregularities. To the outside world, it sounded routine. But inside NASA, the atmosphere was anything but routine. Behind closed doors, access to Voyager's raw data was suddenly restricted. Researchers who had been analyzing the probe's signals for decades found themselves cut off, told that only certain teams would now be handling the transmissions. For the first time in the mission's history, walls were going up around the information. Whispers began to circulate in the hallways of the Jet Propulsion Laboratory. Cryptographers, specialists usually reserved for decoding secure communications, were quietly brought in. Alongside them, artificial intelligence experts were tasked with running deep pattern analysis on the data, searching for meaning hidden in the hums and sequences. This wasn't the usual troubleshooting team. It looked less like engineering and more like translation. Some insiders, speaking anonymously, admitted that the word contact had started to surface in private meetings. Not in official memos, not in front of the press, but in whispered conversations when the doors were closed. For decades, Voyager had been a symbol of humanity reaching outward. Now it seemed possible, just possible, that something out there was reaching back. But instead of celebration, there was tension. What if the public wasn't ready? What if the implications were too great? And what if what Voyager had found wasn't friendly? These questions fueled a quiet divide inside NASA. Some wanted full transparency. Others pushed for secrecy until more was understood. What remained clear was this: Voyager's mystery was no longer just a scientific puzzle. It had become a matter of policy, control, and fear. And for the first time, humanity's oldest ambassador in space was at the center of a debate about whether we were truly ready to know the answer to the question we had been asking for generations. Are we alone? For most of its journey, Voyager 1 has been a one-way messenger. It sends information out, and we listen. That was the design. But recently, scientists began to notice something profoundly different in the probe's transmissions. The signals weren't just unusual, they were reflective. Hidden in the stream of data were patterns that seemed to mirror Voyager's own earlier broadcasts. It was as if something had taken the probe's past transmissions, modified them, and then sent them back through Voyager itself. Messages that had once originated from Earth, diagnostics, instructions, even fragments of calibration data, were returning, altered in subtle but undeniable ways. At first, researchers thought this might be a looping error, some kind of feedback caused by failing onboard systems. But the timing was wrong. The mirrored sequences weren't random. They arrived with deliberate spacing, almost like a reply coming after a pause, an intentional rhythm, a back-and-forth exchange. Even more unsettling, some of the echoed signals carried small but significant changes. A binary sequence Earth had once sent came back with extra digits added, digits that formed prime numbers. A calibration ping returned layered with harmonic tones. The implication was hard to ignore. Something wasn't just replaying Voyager's signals, it was answering them. For the first time, the possibility of dialogue was seriously considered. Voyager 1 may no longer be a lone transmitter drifting endlessly into the void. It may have become the relay in a silent conversation, an exchange carried out not in words but in mathematics, rhythm, and echoes of our own voice. The spacecraft we launched to explore space had become something more, a bridge. And if that was true, then humanity's first contact may not come with a booming declaration or a landing on Earth. It may already be happening quietly, hidden in the rhythm of a machine built nearly 50 years ago, now speaking in ways no one ever imagined. For decades, Voyager 1 was celebrated as a triumph of human curiosity, a tiny machine that carried our story into the stars. It was the explorer that kept going long after its mission was supposed to end, a drifting witness to the vastness of interstellar space. But with its recent anomalies, the way humanity viewed Voyager began to change. What had once been an instrument of observation was now behaving like something else entirely, a beacon, or perhaps even a bridge. Its strange course correction, the rhythmic hums, the mathematical signals, and the altered echoes of the golden record all suggested that Voyager was no longer just transmitting. It was interacting, and that raised a haunting question. If Voyager had reached out to the cosmos, was something intelligent now reaching back? This possibility unsettled many. For some, it was inspiring, a sign that humanity's message had been heard, that we were not alone. For others, it was frightening. If Voyager had become a beacon, then it might also be a target, drawing attention to our fragile world across the vast darkness of space. Inside scientific circles, debates grew sharper. Was this true contact or an elaborate misinterpretation of data? Was Voyager's role shifting naturally through some quirk of failing systems, or was it being guided by something external? No consensus existed, but one truth was clear. Voyager 1 was no longer just a spacecraft. It had become a symbol of something larger, a threshold moment in our understanding of the universe. The probe that once carried humanity's voice outward might now be carrying a reply inward. And whether that reply meant friendship, danger, or something beyond our imagination, Voyager had already transformed our place in the cosmos. The little explorer that launched in 1977 had become more than history. It had become a question, pointed directly at the future of humanity. For nearly half a century, Voyager 1's path was simple, outward, further and further from the sun, never to return. Its journey was a straight arrow into interstellar space. But then, mission controllers noticed something subtle, almost imperceptible at first. The probe was no longer on a clean outward course. Tiny adjustments in its orientation and trajectory suggested a shift. Voyager 1 seemed to be bending back, ever so slightly, toward the solar system. On its own, such movement should have been impossible. With its thrusters nearly exhausted and no new commands sent from Earth, Voyager wasn't supposed to be capable of deliberate navigation. Yet, the course corrections were real, small but precise. It was as though invisible hands were nudging it, guiding it, steering it onto a new path. The implications rattled scientists. If the adjustments weren't mechanical malfunctions or sensor errors, then something external was influencing the spacecraft. Was Voyager responding to a force we couldn't detect? Gravity from an unseen mass, or a field we had no way of measuring? Or was the probe being guided by intelligence, pulled back as if summoned? Speculation quickly spread. Some argued that Voyager might be acting as a messenger, carrying data back toward the world that created it. Others feared the opposite, that something had found our machine, altered its course, and was now sending it homeward as a signal of its own. What unsettled everyone most was the intent implied by the motion. Outward meant discovery. Inward meant return. If Voyager 1 was no longer drifting into the void but instead circling back, then perhaps its mission was no longer under our control. The spacecraft humanity had built to leave Earth forever might now be coming back, escorted by forces we did not command and did not yet understand. As Voyager 1 continues its journey, a sobering realization emerges. The probe may have done more than explore. It may have initiated something far beyond human intention. For decades, humanity has looked outward, sending messages, observing the stars, and wondering if we are alone. Voyager was our ambassador, carrying the golden record and the story of Earth into the void. But the recent anomalies, the uncommanded course shifts, the low-frequency hum, the patterned signals, and the echoes of the golden record suggest that Voyager is no longer just a passive observer. Something out there may have noticed it, responded, and perhaps even guided it. The silence of space is no longer one-sided. We may no longer be the ones watching. We may have become the watched. Voyager 1 has become a mirror reflecting an unseen gaze. Every altered signal, every subtle trajectory adjustment, hints at awareness beyond our understanding. It is as if the cosmos itself is acknowledging us, responding to our presence, and reminding humanity that our messages do not travel alone. They can be received. The consequences are profound. We are confronted with the possibility that intelligence exists beyond Earth, and that our first contact may have already begun, not with dramatic flashes or invasions, but quietly, through the rhythmic pulse of a lonely spacecraft drifting in the void. The video closes with one undeniable truth: the universe is no longer silent. Voyager 1 may be old, fragile, and distant, but it carries more than instruments and data. It carries a whisper of something greater, a reminder that the stars are aware, and that for the first time in history, humanity is not alone. The question now is what comes next, and whether we are ready to listen.